I would absolutely love to have 3 top 10 finishes.
Jake Hill, who's never had a win, leads Josh Cook, leads Jason Plato. Come on, Jake! A first touring car win for Jake Hill comes at Knock Hill. Brilliant drive.
Jake Hill will have plenty more ideas up his sleeve. We'll draw level on the outside instead.
Jake Hill closes it off.
It is a good getaway for Jake Hill.
And Jake, very judicious use of the curbs there, floating the cars across dumpers.
Jake Hill fighting back in the championship.
But it is a win again for Jake Hill here at Knock Hill to kick things off this weekend.
A great start by Jake Hill's rear-wheel drive BMW to grab the lead ahead of Ash Sutton. It is going to be won by Jake Hill. The 2024 QuickFit British Touring Car Championship final round.
So much support here for Jake.
It's the 2024 QuickFit British Touring Car Champion, Jake Hill.
We are here with reigning champion Jake Hill as he embarks on his final race weekend in the BTCC, and we're going to look at some of his favourite memories during his time in the championship. Jake, firstly, I can't believe this moment is here.
Yeah.
It's going to be an emotional weekend. We've both been here together actually throughout your entire BTCC career. I think it's fair to say we've seen you grow from a boy into a man. I'm going to show you some photos of your favourite moments from this time, and I think if anything shows you've grown from a boy to a man, it's probably this first photo.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, it's still actually one of my favourite cars. Talk us through that debut moment.
I mean, what an opportunity, first of all. I mean, Liam Griffin, who drove for Motorsport at the time, he was having his 2nd or 3rd child, I think it was, and you know, he was forced to miss that Croft weekend then. I was in a bit of a lull in my career as well, in terms of, you know, I wasn't racing anything full time, and David Bartram rang us up and said, look, do you want to jump in instead of Liam and have your first touring car seat? So very proud moment for me, my family. You know, I mean, touring cars is what I'd always aspired to do, and yeah, getting that chance to drive that car, and that car was wicked. I loved driving that Focus. You know, at the time, obviously Motorbase were an extremely good team. They were winning an awful lot, and they were right up the front. I think it just looked awesome. You know, the black, the white, turquoise, and sponsored by Airways. I mean, it's a pretty cool sponsor to have as your first partner for touring cars. So yeah, that one holds a very dear place in my heart, and we actually won the Jack Sears Trophy on debut that weekend, so yeah, it was a good one.
We're showing our age now, is because obviously this is when we had 2 classes as well, effectively, so it was the S2000 class as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that was yeah, a great weekend.
Fantastic car. And then moving on to your first full season, obviously I know yourself and your dad very well, and I guess budgets were such a huge problem at that time, and
yeah,
you had the odd race here and there, but trying to get that first full season and then the move over to Team Hart.
Here it was, yeah, 2016. I mean, I actually quite liked the look of the car. It was very funky. It was very Team Hard at the time. You know, they were a very bright team. It was an experience, that's for sure. You know, I mean, the car actually wasn't awful, but obviously the team being not as well funded as some of the others, you know, we struggled with a few aspects of the car and engineering and stuff like that. But we still had a career best of 5th place, I think it was, at Croft that year. Had a great race with Rob Collard, I remember well. And you know, there were some real highs in that point, but the main thing was, I think, just to gain a lot of experience in the championship and learn how to play the game. That's, as we know, that is such a big part of it. So another obviously good memory, that marked the start of my next 10 years in the championship.
As we just said, for a long time it was a worry just to even make it on the grid, and that was the big thing. But then those opportunities started to come, and this one must be a really big moment. First time on a podium? Yeah,
first British touring car podium. I mean, yeah, wow. I remember the feeling. It was here, it was Brands Hatch Indy. Round 2 of the championship, I think it was at the time. You know, having been an instructor here for a long time and worked at Brands Hatch during the week, you know, you get to know sort of the trends in, you know, like where the clouds come from typically, and you know where the circuit starts to dry more in places like that when it's rained, and exactly that. We were on the grid, and a lot of people were staying on wet tyres, and I was pretty convinced it was going to dry. So I took the gamble. I don't know where we qualified, probably pretty badly at that point, but we took the gamble, and it paid off. And I just remember overtaking everyone like we were driving a Scale Electric car. You know, it was so cool. Came through to finish 2nd in my first ever podium that day. I can't remember who won, whether it was Proctor or Jackson, but yeah, I know those are the 2 people I shared that podium with.
Also another good car that looked pretty funky, I thought.
Yeah, VW Passat, yeah.
It was Senna Proctor, I believe, that won the race.
There you go.
There you go. And then obviously that was the the Audi moving on to that.
S3, yeah.
Not Kill. And Not Kill, you've had some unbelievable results there in lots of different cars, and that was a fun car.
It was an amazing car. I mean, 2019, I would argue, you know, up until last year, 2019 was probably one of my favourite years in the championship, and for a few reasons. The first one being I'd had a pretty rough couple of years actually with Team Hard. You know, things didn't really end that well there, and it was a case of I don't actually know if I want to go racing anymore, and that was really sad because that's all I'd ever known and all I'd ever wanted to do. And then Sean Hollenby rang us up. He's a good family friend, and he offered the chance for me to drive his Audi S3, and he was doing everything in his power to help us find the budget to do so. And I just, you know, Sean will always be one of my best friends and such a good bloke. But then obviously it transpired that I was going to be teammates with Mark Blundell, and obviously we know how that story ends. So, you know, that was a pretty special moment. But Not Kill in particular, my first win in the championship, reverse grid pole. We'd had a pretty good day. We were like 9th and 10th all day, and we just got drew for pole. And do you know what? Yeah, we came out and the car was good, man. It was really good. But that weekend was extra special, not only because we won our first race, but also we were representing Arlo Tordoff, who sadly passed away just a few days old, Sam's little boy. So yeah, that win was for him.
And you talk about the relationship with Mark Blundell, obviously been a huge part as well. Not only did you beat a former Formula One driver, he took it pretty well, obviously, because look at this, like what he went on to see in you in that season. That was just a huge break.
It was, you know, it was. I mean, I owe an awful lot to Mark because ultimately it was him that had the vision to create MB Motorsport, the team that we now know, and he chose me to be his #1 driver, to be his only driver, as I have been for the last few years. And you know, we went on to do some amazing things and have so much success. I won nearly all of my races, bar that one, the 2019 first win. I won all of them with MB Motorsport and all the podiums. So it's been an incredible run with that bloke.
Yeah, we're just going to look at that one now. I think probably the first Honda win. Another classic car when you think about it. I mean, obviously Honda has been, I know as a BMW man in the last few years, but Honda's pretty synonymous with this championship in this last few decades.
Yeah,
to drive that car.
For sure. I mean, FK2 Honda was a pretty special car. I mean, that year in 2020 we struggled in the sense that the chassis was unbelievable, and I had a really good engineer who is still my engineer now, Craig Pawley. He'd worked with Sam Tordoff and Rory Butcher in the year previous to carry on that car's legacy. Yeah, 2020 was me and Craig's first year together. That one actually there is 2021 in the Ford. So that was our first win together in the MB Motorsport team. We narrowly missed out on a couple of wins in the Honda, unfortunately, but we did get it at Silverstone finally in the Ford, which obviously went on to be an amazing car, as we well know.
Coming from that to move into probably one of the most famous touring car teams in history, Dick Bennett, everything that came about. How was that moment in the off season when that deal was kind of coming together?
You know, when at the end of that year in 2021, you know, it was like, what can we do? What else can we do? We know where we wanted to be, and that was, we all wanted to be with Dick Bennett. Mark had some previous history with Dick. He wanted to work with that team again. So it was a case of how can we do that? I always wanted to go there. I love the idea of driving for BMW. You know, ever since I first started in the championship, when you walk in, typically the first trucks you always see are the Team BMW, West Surrey racing trucks, and every time I'd walk to the other end of the paddock, and I thought one day, you know, and between Mark and Alex at MB Motorsport, they made that a reality over the winter break and into 2022.
You did go on to win the Goodyear Wingfoot Award. Now, from a fan's perspective, it might not feel like one of the big ones, but actually from a driver's point of view, that determines how quick you are on a Saturday afternoon, and this is where you were really getting that reputation, taking it to the likes of Colin, etc., showing that one-lap pace.
Yeah, I mean, 2022, for me, I think this is where I sort of kicked myself a little bit, because I think my inexperience lost me my first championship. We were quick enough, for sure. I mean, I got pole on my debut with West Surrey Racing, which I don't think anybody has ever done with the team before. We obviously were extremely fast that year. 2022, the car was unbelievable, and I still say to this day, whenever we're in engineering debrief with the team, just give me my 22 car back, you know, because that car was an absolute missile. It was fantastic to drive, and just against the cars that time, you know, just a few years ago, the likes of the Napa Ford were just starting, that Napa had just taken over, and Hyundai hadn't really found their feet yet, but our car was just unbelievable, you know. So, but yeah, the Wingfoot Award was a nice little icing on the cake, and it made up for some of the things for not winning the championship, but not all of them. But it was a nice thing to know how fast we could be when we wanted to be.
We're getting close to looking at that now, and the partnership with Laser Tools is where this began. Another fantastic partner of yours, and that's been a great story, hasn't it?
It has. I mean, the Laser Tools Racing have, you know, been an incredible title sponsor to us for the previous 3 years, you know, and we've done some amazing things together. I mean, the majority of my success has been with Laser Tools Racing and obviously MB Motorsport, carrying on that legacy together. And I just really like the laser livery, you know. But it was fantastic, you know, to win a championship on their 10-year anniversary for Laser Tools Racing within the championship. And yeah, like I say, they've just been a great partner for us.
And this is that moment, crossing the line a year ago, home circuit, a year's worth of work, but for you, a decade's worth of work, if not more. Like,
yeah.
What did that feel like, that moment?
Just the weight off your shoulders. You literally felt it as you crossed the line, you know, just how important that was for all of us. I mean, it was, looking at that picture, I love that picture, you know, it was just the best day of my life, literally was. You know, I'm gonna miss it quite a lot.
And racing with that #1 this year, has that been you know, what a great way to go out if you're going to go out?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, obviously the ultimate mic drop would be to win it again and then just leave. But you know what, I really wanted to come back as #1. The option was there to part ways last year and potentially go and, you know, race internationally a little bit earlier, but it just didn't feel right. You know, I wanted to come back and defend, of course. Unfortunately, that hasn't been made possible for a number of reasons this year, but I wanted to come back with #1. I'd never ever been #1 in my whole career in anything I've ever raced before. I'd never won a championship up until that point, and you know, it just felt right to come back, and the team was in a really good place, and you know, Laser Tools were super happy to go again, and it just worked, so we did it, and I'm glad we've done it. And sure, it's not been the icing on the cake we would have loved it to have been, where we get to win a second championship, but you know, we're still fighting pretty hard for third with Dan Camish and Dan Rowbottom, and yeah, hopefully I can grab that, you know, and come away knowing that, yeah, for as long as I've been in a BMW, I've never finished lower than third in the championship, so that has to be the aim.
And just a word for this place behind us, we're both kind of local lads. For it to end here at Brands Hatch, I mean, the team still had its best weekend here on the Indy circuit this season. So targets to go out with a win?
I want to end on a win, 100%. You know, I mean, at the very least a podium, but yeah, I would love to go out on a win. You know, that would be amazing, and it would just mean the world to me. And obviously, I'm never going to be able to repeat what we did last year in terms of the emotion levels and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure there'll be a tear in my eye at the end of race 3, that's for sure. So it's been a hell of a roller coaster, and do you know what? I just can't thank BTCC enough and everyone in this paddock for showing me the amount of love they have. It's been my life's work, and I've loved it.
Well, on behalf of the championship, I just want to thank you for all of the memories from the fans and all of the staff involved, and good luck with everything you do in the future, mate.
Thank you, mate.